even before Michael Jordan won the title in 91. From 88 on, it was clear that Michael Jordan, even with Larry Bird or Magic Johnson winning championships, it was clear that Michael Jordan was the best player in the world. Larry Bird called him God in gym shorts.
Here's your paraphrased version with smoother flow, stronger delivery, and better pacing for a sports video script. Stephen A. Smith has finally had enough. For years, the GOAT debate has spiraled out of control, but now he's stepping in with one clear message. Facts matter more than feelings. No made-up narratives. No fantasy arguments. Just reality. And according to Stephen A., one thing is becoming impossible to ignore. A lot of LeBron supporters are arguing with emotion instead of evidence. The numbers speak for themselves. The championships speak. The defensive awards speak. And now Stephen A. is speaking louder than ever. Before we dive deeper into this debate, make sure to hit that like button, subscribe to NBA Showdown, and leave your thoughts in the comments. Do you agree with Stephen A? Are LeBron fans letting emotions cloud the conversation? Let's break it all down. Stephen A. opens a discussion with a relentless wave of basketball facts that immediately sets the tone. He highlights Michael Jordan's championships, finals dominance, defensive greatness, and scoring achievements all in one powerful argument. Because this debate is not just about longevity or total points scored. It's about complete dominance on both sides of court. Jordan played in one of the most physical eras basketball has ever seen. Yet he still captured 6 championships without ever allowing a final series to reach Game 7. He won 10 scoring titles and built a reputation as one of the most dangerous defenders in the league. And when those accomplishments are placed side by side with LeBron's resume, Stephen A. believes the debate starts losing momentum. LeBron's greatness is undeniable. His consistency and longevity are historic. But according to Stephen A., he still has not surpassed Jordan in the category that matters most: total impact on the game. This is why Stephen A. insists his argument is not based on personal opinion. He believes the basketball facts speak for themselves, leaving very little room for counter-arguments.
The obvious. You do know that MJ has 6 titles, right? And LeBron has 4. You do know that, right? You do know that MJ was undefeated in all 6 NBA Finals appearances. Do you know that? You do know that Michael Jordan never allowed an NBA Finals series to get to a 7th game. Did you know that? I'm sure you did. Did you know he's a 10-time champion? And LeBron has won a scoring title 1 time? Did you know he's a 9-time first-team all-defensive player? LeBron James did that 5 times. Did you know that Michael Jordan is the former Defensive Player of the Year, 1988? LeBron James has never won a Defensive Player of the Year.
Stephen A. then shifts the conversation towards something even bigger: dominance on both ends of the floor. He openly acknowledges LeBron's greatness and even places him firmly at number 2 all-time, which by itself is massive praise. But according to Stephen A., the distance between first and second place still matters. And that's where Michael Jordan separates himself. Stephen A. points out that LeBron is on the verge of another sweep, something Jordan never experienced in a best-of-7 playoff series. That detail matters because it highlights the level of consistency and control Jordan maintained whenever the pressure was highest. Jordan never allowed an NBA Finals series to reach Game 7, and he was never swept in a 7-game series. To Stephen A., that says everything about Jordan's mentality, competitiveness, and refusal to break under pressure. This is where the debate becomes deeper than just statistics. Stephen A. is bringing context into conversation, the type of context that separates legendary players from the undisputed greatest of all time. Because numbers alone never tell the full story. It's about how a player performed when everything was on the line. And in Stephen A.'s eyes, as incredible as LeBron's career has been, he still has not done enough to surpass Michael Jordan at the top.
We're talking about what you do on both sides of the court, and we're talking about Michael Jordan, in my mind, being the greatest, but not throwing any shade on LeBron James because he's the worthy number 2. But he's about to get swept.
Stephen then reminds people of Jordan's early career struggles to emphasize that even when he lost,
The context starts to look very different when you dig deeper into the details. Yes, Michael Jordan was swept twice early in his career, but those losses came in best-of-5 series against Larry Bird's legendary Boston Celtics teams. Once the NBA moved to the best-of-7 format, Jordan was never swept again. And to Stephen A., that statistic says a lot about Jordan's resilience and competitive mindset. Even in defeat, Jordan never stopped fighting. He adapted, improved, and eventually took complete control of the league. This conversation goes beyond championships alone. It's about the aura of dominance Jordan built throughout his career. He came up in an era where losing did not come with endless explanations or excuses. He took the criticism, elevated his game, and conquered the NBA without relying on a manufactured super team or outside pressure to force success. Stephen A. uses this comparison to argue that LeBron's career, while undeniably historic, comes with too many conditions attached to it. Too many what-if discussions, too many exceptions, too many debates surrounding circumstances instead of pure dominance. And that, according to Stephen A., is the exact reason why Jordan still remains untouchable in the GOAT conversation.
And that's why fans who claim LeBron is the GOAT sound more emotional than rational.
By the way, Michael Jordan, he got swept twice, just like LeBron did. But it was in best-of-5 series in 86 and 87 to Larry Bird, McHale, Robert Parrish, Dennis Johnson, Danny Ainge, and those boys. In a best-of-5 series. Michael Jordan has never gotten swept in a best-of-7 series in his career.
Stephen A. then moves into a point that often gets overlooked in the GOAT conversation: how a player was actually perceived during their era. During the peak of LeBron James' career, the debate over the league's best player was constantly shifting. At different times, names like Kobe Bryant, Tim Duncan, and Steph Curry all entered that discussion. There was always conversation, always comparison, always debate. But when it comes to Michael Jordan, Stephen A. argues there was no such uncertainty. Jordan was a clear, undisputed best player in the world, not because of media narratives or online discussions, but because that was a universal understanding among players, coaches, and analysts at the time. There was never a question. Jordan was the standard. Stephen A. emphasizes that true greatness removes doubt entirely. It shuts down arguments before they even start. And in his view, that kind of total consensus never fully existed around LeBron. Because even at his peak, his dominance has always come with discussion, comparison, and debate attached to it, rather than absolute agreement.
Their defense from fans and media tells you everything about where he really stands.
Do you understand that during the LeBron James era, there were debates as to whether or not he was the best in the world, because Kobe was still playing at one time. Tim Duncan was still playing for a large chunk of that time. And ultimately, Steph Curry has been playing a large chunk of that time. Do you know that when Michael Jordan was playing, there was never a debate ever as to who was the best in the world?
In an even stronger argument, Stephen A. highlights that Michael Jordan's dominance was established long before he ever won a championship. By as early as 1988, many already considered him the best player in the world. And that was while legends like Magic Johnson and Larry Bird were still actively competing at the highest level. Even those icons recognized what they were seeing. Larry Bird famously described Jordan as God disguised as Michael Jordan, a statement that went far beyond praise. It was an acknowledgement of clear superiority coming from one of the game's greatest minds. Stephen A. points out that this kind of respect from peers is something rarely seen in the same way with LeBron James. Jordan didn't need marketing, media campaigns, or self-promotion to establish his status. He didn't have to declare himself the best. The league did it for him. Opponents felt it. Coaches saw it. Legends admitted it. And that, according to Stephen A., is what makes Jordan's legacy feel so undeniable. His point is simple. If you were around during that era, you didn't debate it. You understood it.
Even before Michael Jordan won the title in 91, from 88 on, it was clear that Michael Jordan, even with Larry Bird or Magic Johnson winning championships, it was clear that Michael Jordan was the best player in the world. Larry Bird called him God in gym shorts.
Finally, Stephen A. closes his breakdown with a statement that
Stephen A. then shifts into a more psychological angle, focusing on how LeBron James fan base responds in GOAT debates. He questions Shannon Sharpe on why someone would feel personally offended when LeBron is not placed at number one, and even though Shannon denies it, his reaction suggests otherwise. To Stephen A., that contradiction is important. It highlights what he believes is an emotional attachment that goes beyond basketball analysis. In his view, many LeBron supporters are no longer debating based on evidence, but reacting based on emotion. The discussion has, at times, moved beyond stats and achievements and turned into a personal defense of LeBron's legacy. But Stephen A. argues that emotions cannot rewrite history. They cannot change records or create dominance that wasn't consistently proven on the court. This is where, according to him, the argument begins to weaken for LeBron's side. Jordan, on the other hand, never relied on emotional defense or narrative protection. His game spoke for itself. Stephen A. believes the issue with the LeBron debate is not just a lack of clear separation in the numbers, but the way emotion often clouds judgment in defending him. He goes as far as suggesting that some fans are no longer having a pure basketball debate, but something closer to a personal identity attachment. In contrast, he argues that Michael Jordan's legacy doesn't require constant defense or explanation. It stands on its own. From accolades to reputation, from dominance to perception, Jordan's case, in his view, is self-evident. Meanwhile, LeBron's legacy continues to be debated, justified, and interpreted through different narratives. And Stephen A.'s final takeaway is blunt. In his opinion, the